Chapter 11 of Deliver Me from Eva by Paul Bailey. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Ben Tucker. Chapter 11. As with the day previous, I awoke to darkness in my study. The same clammy sense of horror possessed me, and did not disperse until I had switched on the light. Margot long since had departed. My sleep had been a madman's nightmare, with earless, legless monstrosities leering at me from a rich, languorous, and tantalizing background of exquisite music and beautiful women. I stretched my cramped muscles, lethargically put the book away, and glanced at my wristwatch. It was 7:10, and the knowledge shook me to life. I started for the door, and was stopped cold by the thing I saw. Across the deep pile of my green broadloom rug, straight to the door, were the marks of wheels, 3 of them. Unlike those of a tea-cart, the path prints were narrow. My first rationalization against mounting fear was in favor of Margot's vacuum cleaner, until I remembered having seen the tank machine she used, and these marks would never match its steel skids. Quickening perception and a deeper premonition were already more clearly telling me from whence had come those wheel trails. I followed them back toward the room's center, little doubt remaining but what Dr. Craner had visited my study while I slept. And strangely again the marks mysteriously disappeared at the room's center. Of necessity the rug's new and deep pile was footmarked, and those marks might have been anyone's. But rugs seldom bear sharp outline of a shoe's imprint, and a frieze broadloom, like the one in my study, would reveal only wheel marks with any degree of fidelity. The odd and tantalizing fact was that the marks should so abruptly terminate in the middle of my room. Not the least evidence was there of a return of the doctor's glider to the door, and all I could do was follow the triple trail out and across the music room to Ava's study. At her door I raised my hand to rap, and then lowered it to slowly retrace my steps. My promise was to meet Ava at 7, but I had no right to invade her company in my sleep-rumpled dishabille. Hurriedly I dashed back to my chambers, shaved, switched to dinner dress, and was back in my study within quarter of an hour. Margot's confession, and the doctor's miraculous traverse of the impossibly rocky trail between houses were mysteries which had screamed for answer as I dressed. My first glance was at the rug, and now a fresh wheel trail was there. Another trail abruptly stopping at the room's mid-center. I stared at the marks, fascinated. I tried to piece logic into the sequence. The doctor evidently had returned to my study after his visit with Ava, and it very definitely had happened during my brief absence. Within a period of minutes he'd wheeled his glider into my room, stopped at the center, and to all ostensible evidence had vanished. It seemed incredible. Perturbed and slightly fearful, I peered about the room. My quest was unrevealing and led me to glance at the domed ceiling, to search behind the desk and piano and out the other door into the big reception hall. Apparently Dr. Craner had either gone his devious way, or had not the slightest intentions of revealing his presence to an aroused son-in-law. But my agitations were as nothing compared to the state in which I found Ava. I was a good half-hour late. Gravely, Margot hustled me through to her daughter's chamber. Ava was at her dressing table redoing her makeup. In bending to her strangely inanimate kiss, her own inward strife spoke to me from red and swollen eyes. "Hell's imps!" I cried. "What's wrong?" "Nothing especially," she answered, powdering her cheeks with care. Carefully, Margot set the glittering bandeau to Ava's honey-colored hair, adjusted the shoulder straps of her pale green gown, and stood off with me to admire. I thought then of our mutual interest in the beautiful creature who, like a queen of glory, sat before us. I thought with pity and with new understanding of the mother whose womb had given life and form to the vision, and whose faithful heart and loyal hands were still consecrated to its care. A dozen questions were framing in my mind, but Ava was distressed. In spite of her evasiveness, it was clear that something desperately worried her. "Your father has been here," I said. Margot looked startled. Ava turned and faced me questioningly. "You saw him?" she asked. "I saw the marks of his glider leading to your quarters." "Yes," she sighed. "He was here." "From the sight of you, he must have brought bad news or something." "Osmond has left us." I grinned with relief, offered cigarettes all around, and in their refusal took one myself. "What cause there for weeping?" I facetiously declared. "Osmond's no child." I lit my cigarette and puffed reflectively. Probably wanted to make a fling at some nightlife. For the first time I noticed that Margot, too, was but a step from hysterics. Her control, however, seemed far better than Ava's. My wonder was why so trivial an affair as Osmond's kicking over the traces should be considered as a matter of so profound consequence. But I knew little about women, and considerably less about the Craner women.
"The sable tonight, Margot?"
Ava was saying. Her indifference to Margot's feelings and the incredible reduction of her mother to menial status suddenly angered me. I throttled back a stinging rebuke as I watched Margot dutifully turn and walk toward the closets. And while I smoked in self-forced silence, my eyes followed the woman, noting every virtue of poise, regality, and perfection of form she had passed on to the daughter, who now used her so contemptuously. I wanted to speak, to remind Ava of my own reaction to the only facet of her personality that so far had stirred displeasure in me. But I was halted by the fact that Margot's confession had been a confidential matter between us, and Craner ways, I was fast coming to realize, were not my ways, nor the ways of other people I knew. I looked at Ava. She was crying again. "Shame on you," I chided impatiently.
"Osmond is gone," she moaned.
"Well, what of it?" I demanded. "He's a man, with the ideas of a man. Why hinder him if he wants to stroll out of bounds? Frankly, he's doing exactly what I'm going to do."
"You don't understand, Mark," Ava cried. "You don't know what you're saying."
"Oh, don't I?" I replied.
"Please, Mark," she wearily pleaded. "Let's not discuss it. You can't understand."
"Nuts," I grumbled. "I understand a damn sight more than you think I do. Tomorrow I'm likewise flitting out. There's a lot of this voodoo I don't comprehend, but I'm not hexed with it yet. I'm leaving, just like Osmond. And as for you, Ava, you can either come along with me or remain in your mummery. I'm flying away like a bird." Ava's face blanched. Her lips quivered.
"Don't say it, Mark. Please don't say it."
"Of course I'll say it," I cried, disgustedly crushing out my cigarette in her jeweled ashtray. "I've shaken out of my spell, Ava. I'm no longer spook crazy, and you're going to shake out of yours, if I have to do the shaking with my own two hands. This skull business is making idiots of everyone around here."
"You can't leave,"
came Margot's solemn voice from behind me. Slowly she walked to Ava and with utmost tenderness draped the luxurious fur piece about her neck. "Oh, can't I?" I suddenly screeched in fury. "I'll show you whether I can or not. I'll show you whether a bunch of mental and physical freaks can govern my acts, or seduce my right to make my own decisions." Elated by my newfound strength, I turned on my heel and made for the door. Behind me I heard a sudden stir of feet. An instant later Ava's arms were about me.
"Don't try it," she frantically begged. "Please don't try it."
"Oh, for God's sake," I cried in exasperation. "Grow up, Ava. Dig yourself out of this childish stuff." I turned, and when I saw the tears of hurt and fright in her gray-green eyes, I felt as though I wantonly had crushed a fledgling bird. I took her in my arms. I held her very tight. "I'm going," I whispered, "and you're going with me."
"Oh, why can't I make you understand, Mark? You can't go."
She was sobbing uncontrollably now.
"You can't go,"
she desperately moaned. My patience reached the breaking point. I shook her like an erring child. "Who's to stop me, you foolish girl? The road leads to Pasadena. We're going, as Osmond has gone."
"Don't say that, Mark."
She convulsively shuddered in my arms. "In the name of sanity, why not?"
"Because Osmond never left the place, and neither can you."
"Did Papa Craner lock him up, like a bad, bad boy?" She raised her face to mine and whispered,
"Osmond is dead."
End of chapter 11.